Well, hello everybody. Yes, this is a different venue, so this is why I've got all the problems with live streaming and what have you. So, welcome, welcome along everybody. Sorry for the delay. We're about 10 minutes delay off our normal live stream, normal times. Please let me know that you're on and that you can see me okay, and that we are actually live and that you can hear me okay. Sorry about the noise in the background. I'm just going to close that window. Well, how have you been? It's a really hot week. As you can see, I'm not in the UK. I'm actually on holiday in Madeira, but this is what live stream's all about. This is what we need to do. This is what we need to do is keep things going. It's nice to have some people on board already. Hi, Stuart. Hi, Stuart. Evening to you. Hope you're well. Hi, Simon. How are you? Hope you're well too. Good to have you on board. Hello, Jonathan. Glad you're all okay. Tell me what your week's been like first of all, because I know that it's a scorcher. Yeah, we're all coming through on loud and clear from Paul as well, so that's really good. Well, yes. So I'm here in Madeira, but I have been busy. I've been doing some interviews, and I've got some good things to show you all about soldering. So don't forget, you can see us on the web now. That's where we are, theavi.org.uk. Please follow me on there, or if you follow me on Facebook, share it with your friends. Share this. Let's get all those auto electrical installers out there and watching all this, because this is the type of thing that we need for the for the industry and stuff. But let's get on with the presentation, because I'm a bit behind and dinners are waiting and what have you. Now, today we're going to talk about soldering, but the key thing is that we've got some specialists involved in it now, and we're gonna have an interview shortly with Chris Ward from Solder King, who's got a bit of a good thing, because we'll talk about it anyway in the presentation. But there's a lot about the solutions and stuff. Maybe with maybe it might work for you guys as well in the with the Milwaukee soldering iron. So first of all, we will talk about soldering, and we've done Harrow-Lowe's, but we'll talk about the tools that we'll need, our health and safety, some other considerations as well, and then there's a bit of a demonstration on joining two wires and splice connections, and then we've got a little interview with Chris, and we've got a revelation about the Milwaukee soldering iron that you can see in front of you. So we'll start first of all with the tools that you'll need to do soldering. Okay, so the obvious one, it's the soldering iron, either gas or electric. You need wire strippers and wire cutters. You need, which is really important and something I will stress, a soldering pad. Yes, you need a soldering pad, because we don't want to damage the customer's cars or the customer's vehicle, and the soldering pad is ideal for putting underneath where you're soldering, and you'd be surprised how many people don't actually have a soldering pad, and they are cheap as chips. We're talking about a tenner, £10 or $10 or €10. Nothing. It costs nothing. The obvious thing there is solder. You need amalgamating tape, heat shrink, insulation tape, and you also need cloth tape. So the first thing to tell you is that a soldering iron is hot. Yeah, obvious stuff there. You also need to know about the health and safety about this is it contains colophony rosin. It's called colophony, but it's actually rosin. So if you have sensitive skin, or you have some kind of asthma, I would sort of recommend that you need some kind of face mask, and that you also need to wear gloves. Failing that, you need to make sure that you've got adequate ventilation to do your soldering. That's the key thing here. Okay, so moving on, some considerations to think about before soldering. What is the melting point of solder? Do you all know what the melting point of solder is? Leave your comments. Let's have a look and see if you do actually know what the melting point of solder is. And then your soldering iron. What is the working temperature of your soldering iron? And are you aware of the fact that the solder, if you consider the solder melting point, that your soldering iron needs to work at a higher temperature, way above. It's about 150 degrees Celsius above the solder melting point. And then if you don't have it hot enough, the solder won't travel, and it won't, which you'll hear about later on in this thing, which is called wetting, apparently, from my good friend Chris. And if it's too hot, you get an overheating. You get the overheating, then you get too much of the flux, and then you get fumes. Gas soldering irons, yes, they're great. They're variable, but they can get too hot, and you might not get them hot enough. And then there is the obvious, not an issue at the moment because the ambient temperature is hot enough as it is. But when temperatures are low, like at 0 when you're working, you've got to consider that, and then you've got to consider the gauge and the construction of the cable, and also consideration as well as the age of the cable. And if it's tarnished or black, there's obviously an issue with soldering there. So we'll show you my old, remember this one? You might remember, I cut it all down, but this is the old soldering video that I did some time ago in lockdown, and I'll share it with you now.
Hi folks, so this is a quick demonstration on how to do some soldering. First of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to join these two cables together. So apply a bit of, apply a bit of heat shrink over the end of the cable. Strip back about 15 to 20 millimeters of cable, both sides. And then what you need to do is splay the cable back, like so. Splay that cable back as well. And then when they're splayed, simply cross over and twist them around each other. So there's no spikes. The soldering iron's now nicely warmed up. So all we do is start it off gently on the soldering iron, get a bit of solder on the soldering iron. Once you've got the solder on the soldering iron, you should then gently go through the cable. Start in the middle and work your way out to the edges. So you've got a nice little joint like so. We'll leave our soldering iron on over there. So as you can see now, that's nicely joined up. It's nice and shiny. And then wait for it to gently cool down. And then when it's ready, just put a bit of heat shrink over. And then gently heat up the heat shrink. Try not to scorch it. Like so. To make a splice connection, or T-joint as they would like to call it, firstly there's your supply cable, so this is going to be my supply donor, and then on your cable that you're going to splice off, strip back the cable the same length, around about 20 millimeters, and then what you need to do is to tin up the supply. This avoids dry joints. With that over, then you then twist the cable from your device around that main cable, and then tighten up that joint like so. The great thing about that is you haven't overheated that cable up too much. Apply some amalgamating tape. And then apply some cloth tape to fully seal that joint.
So there we go, folks. Yes, I know you've got some problems with I know I've got some problems with the internet. I'm really sorry about that. All I can say is that yeah, really sorry, folks, about the internet quality. I'm doing my best here. I will carry on, battle on through here, but as you're aware, I'm in Madeira, so sorry about the quality. Now, moving on to our further presentation, we've also got a special guest because I went to this gentleman, Chris, and I went to him with a problem because we've got a working temperature 400 degrees Celsius, and we've got issues. So, especially with working on large gauge cable and working in cold environments. And what I found was, I think it was more towards the solder itself, rather than actually the the soldering iron. So I went to a professional, which was Chris Ward from Solder King, and I had a chat with Chris, and here's our interview. It's Chris on the line here all the way from sunny Bury, to us to come and talk to us about solder. Chris, tell us all about your company first of all.
Okay, so yeah, Solder King. We established in 2018, so we are a relatively new company. We design, develop, and manufacture all of our own solders in-house using our very own technologies. We've got extrusion presses, got solder paste mixing, flux mixing. We produce bar solders, solder pellets, and offer a wide range of products for various applications.
Yes,
solder alloy, which is 0.3% silver, trace of copper in there as well, balanced tin. But what is also important is the flux chemistry and also the flux percentage. I decided to send you our CXW70, and the CXW70 is basically, it's a unique flux core. We've used quite a special blend of activators, and that is really what gives it its performance. You would have noticed really fast wetting speeds, very little spatter, hardly any, really clean residues. And we took it that little step further, and we increased the amount of flux to 3.3%, technically 50% more flux. And this is really what gave you the results that you were seeing.
Brilliant, yeah, and we have noticed the difference. I mean, I've dropped this out to a few of the installers out there to and thank you for the free roll, by the way. But most of it has actually gone off as samples to all the engineers, and it's worked really well. Everybody's come back and said how well it works. Will it work as good with a gas soldering iron as well?
Well, yeah, it will. And one consideration to have is because it is faster flowing and it's got a slightly lower melting point, you won't have to have the torch on there for as long. You can have slightly lower temperatures and it will give you really good results.
So, folks, there we go. Really sorry about the internet speeds. I was told that the internet speeds would be fast enough, but oh well, this is live streaming for you. But don't worry, I will be putting this all on. It will be on YouTube, and I'll put the proper video on as well on Facebook and LinkedIn for you guys. straight after this broadcast. So you'll be able to watch it in full. And don't forget to leave all your comments as well. Some of the things as well from the glossary is that we've just heard about is wetting and spitting and what have you. This is all about the type of when you use the type of solder that you're using. If there's a lot of wetting, obviously, if it's really good at wetting, it means that the solder will liquefy and go down the cable a lot easier. The spitting is from the flux, so if you use the wrong type of chemistry, you will end up with the wrong type of chemical in the flux. You will end up with spitting, so that the solder will spit at you. So these are like things when you buy cheaper solder, you get that spitting. So that's what if you have a low spatter with wetting, that's a really good solder. In terms of residues and odor, that means basically when you do the solder joint, if you have any residues, it means that it doesn't leave the solder as clean, the solder joint as clean as what it should be. And then obviously you have really bad odor. So there we go, folks. And I'm so sorry. And I had loads of people watching as well. That's just how, unfortunately, live streams go. But really, thanks ever so much for watching. Don't forget to share this with everybody, but don't share this one. But what I'll do, as I say, I will put the video straight back on. I'm going to record this now, cut out all of what's in there, anything that's lost, and what I'll do is I'll repurpose it, put it straight back on, so you'll be able to watch it on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. If you do want to leave any comments now, if you've got any questions about it, you can. I know I've still got 18 people on there still, so if you feel like commenting now, let's have a chat if you fancy. Any questions at all about this, or are we all just going to say goodbye to each other and we're going to be gone? Nobody's going to leave any comments? Right then, folks. I will leave you all to it, and I'll see you all next week. Next week, we've got some interesting new innovations from one of our sponsors, and they're going to come online, and we're going to do an interview with them, and they're going to talk about the products that they've got, and the company is ParkSafe. Right, folks, see you later. All the best, everybody. Have a good week.